Thank you so much and welcome to the CRIF booth at GFF. We'll quickly move into our discussions. So the first thing, Ram, I wanted to check with you is, see, there are a lot of products, APIs which are available in the market today. Now, when you have to take a decision in terms of which API to work on, which to scale, right, and that could be a tough question for from a layman's perspective. Could you just help us understand what drives that? Is it the kind of innovation which is happening in the market today? Is it the fintechs? What are they looking for? Or is it primarily the lenders, the banks, the NBFCs? What drives that usage and product selection?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for having me here. So that's a good question, right? In terms of saying what will sell in the market. Technically, you're asking me that question as to what will sell. See, but the way I believe and then what I've been kind of progressing all along is that what makes the life for a consumer or a customer easy. So ultimately, it's about the experience of the consumer or the customer. Every innovation has to kind of find its basis from that particular pain point or what is that experience that will kind of get enhanced. So the way I look at APIs, I look at tech, I look at innovations, it is about that point in terms of what does the customer need? How could we make experience better? So that's what actually pushes you back to go and innovate. That's what pushes you back to simplify multiple journeys of engagement. To all of this that you are asking, whether it is the fintechs, whether it is the bank, whether it is the tailwinds that kind of come in, whether it is any other ecosystem challenge that actually plays. There is a combination of all this, but the foundation of all this will be customer experience. So it's very difficult to say that, okay, I'll sit in a lab and make an API and that will kind of scale. That will be a good wishful thinking, but it's not over. So the way I would put this entire thing is that base everything on customer experience and then build backwards.
Perfect.
That's when it will scale.
Thanks, Ram, for that perspective. Obviously, the customer is the thing, and what the customer wants is something that is being developed. I'll move on to the second part, Ram. Now, what we've in general seen is that when it comes to large banks and adoption of tech, we've seen large gaps, or we've seen the timelines getting extended to a fairly large extent. Now, I'm sure you guys are working with a lot of these large Indian banks. What are the challenges that you see in that ecosystem? Because the resistance to change or the entire ecosystem is a little slow moving. So how do you or how does your team kind of tackle that change, and what are your 2 cents around that?
You see, today intervention of tech is imminent. There's no getting away from that, right? The pace with which tech is kind of changing the narrative is incomprehensible, to say the least. So, I mean, I agree that in large economies, in countries like us, where there is a problem of plenty, it is also critical for each of the stakeholders in the ecosystem to kind of align with the right stakeholders or right partners. So I kind of empathize with the ecosystem in terms of financial institutions today, that there are 160,000 startups in the country. There are like 40,000-50,000 of them kind of doing B2B and then wanting to solve for customer problems. So it's a good problem to have, but the problem kind of gets enhanced for the decision makers. So when you go into large banks and institutions and then you have stakeholders deciding as to which partner to kind of align with, they really don't know what to kind of make out of it. So it's very difficult for them to decide at one go. So there is a gestation period. They have lived with legacy systems. They need to change their foundations predominantly now. So all of this puts together this challenge as to how to kind of get this across quickly. So the agility and pace is difficult, but what I've realized and what we as an organization are doing is very clearly stay persistent, right?
Yeah.
And be as articulate as possible and show the key difference that it makes for them to kind of change. And I'm very sure there are champions across the ecosystem who really want to drive that change, deliver that change in the interest of customer at the end of the day, right? So ultimately, if you find those champions, you will win. Definitely, it will take time, but that's a good thing to have, because then alignment of right partners also will happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely right, Ram. Thanks for that insightful answer. I'll maybe move on to the next question, and this is something which I have personally been thinking a lot. See, there was a time when fintechs were evolving, and the lending ecosystem, the banks and NBFC would see it as a challenge, and they would kind of not be very open to working with fintechs. But over a period of time, we've seen this entire thought process evolve. Now, from your vantage point, how do you see this relationship? And do you see that it's now moved from, let's say, a competition to more of a collaboration? Or there is still some way to go forward before we can kind of say we've achieved that?
You see, that's like playing in everybody's mind today, right? If it has a time arrived to say that the fintech and the institutional arrangement and collaboration is the thing, or is it like too long, for us to go? See, what I feel, and then it's very clear, technology and innovation can happen when there is a lot of friction. And people who are able to thrive in chaos are the people who create innovation.
Yeah.
So startups are best suited, best placed, because you just want to continuously kind of get the problem out of the experience part of it. So I feel today it is a very mature state for the Indian ecosystem across the globe. If you see, initial parts were like fintechs were never part of the whole story, right? You had to kind of go and establish, trust ecosystem had to be built. People had all doubts whether the organization will be there, not there,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. But I think today it's come to stay. I don't think there are doubts in the minds of institution builders whether should we collaborate or build on our own. They understand GTM is far quicker if you collaborate, and they also understand that tech as a DNA exists in the startup ecosystem. So that's come to stay here, and I think it's a good time for all of the fintechs, all tech companies, startups to really make this work. The key thing is to build trust and ensure that you deliver. So if this happens, it's not the earlier times of doubts. It's definitely settled down, and we're going to see a lot of more collaborations happening. If you look at what's the RBI Innovation Hub that is being set up, that's actually the key thing that the former founder of Setu, Sahil Kini, is now the CEO there.
Yeah.
So all of that he's going to do is to ensure and enable startups to come and deliver better. So I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that collaboration is possible, not possible. That's settled now. So there are enough people in the ecosystem. I see Samir around here, part of Digital Fifth, who's actually done enough to change that narrative, to kind of tell banks how startups will actually enhance this entire collaboration possible. So it's a good place to be in. People are evangelizing it, and I think it's a good future forward for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Nam. I think we've put a close to the question in terms of collaboration between banks and fintechs. Two last quick questions, Ram. So, see, when it comes to the API models, right, we generally see that it starts as a filet, and then as the filet slowly grows, we kind of see success of the program coming in. In your view, what is the one strategy that we can actually use to scale such pilots at scale and kind of see the value coming out of them?
These pilots are supposed to be in small scale, right? Banks or institutions are very apprehensive about what the outcomes will be because of the positions that they are in the current state, right? So every change requires a lot of lobbying internally in the system to bring about that change. So when a process change happens, when there's a tech intervention that is happening, people are not very clear about what the outcomes might be or will be, and any customer loss is a big thing for them, right? So the way things would emerge is that when they see pilots of small scale and outcomes are actually very very nuanced and they're visible, then it can definitely become a contract and you can scale up. But pilots at scale, I don't think it will ever happen because unless outcomes are clearly demonstrated. See, every startup founder is going and solving the pain point, or a fintech is solving the pain point, right? You really know what you're solving for, but the customer needs to experience that outcome. And unless he or she or the enterprise aligns with that outcome, you're never going to see fruition of whatever you're building.
Yeah.
So it's important that you kind of engage, be persistent in that engagement, ensure that the POC is successful and it's satisfactory to the stakeholders, and you build the confidence to the stakeholders there that their customers will actually grow exponentially and they will never lose them. And that outcome will very clearly then make you get to a proper engagement and then scale. So scale of pilots, I don't see it happening very quickly.
Good. So, I think there was a bit of a gap from the understanding perspective from my end. I would say the idea was to talk about what the scale, once the pilot is successful, how do we take it to scale and monetize? But I think you've more than answered the question that we kind of achieved too. Thank you so much, Ram. Thank you for being on the panel. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure the entire audience who's here goes back a lot more enriched with this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.